I'm Denise.
I'm Katie.
I've been friends with Katie for over 20 years.
I cannot believe it's been 20 years.
This is
88 Chat,
where we talk about really random crap.
Advisory, disclaimer, this is just our opinion. Please don't take it as fact. Don't send hate to anybody. We want to love everybody.
Hello. Good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. So today's topic, I think we touched on before, is the vaccine. It's been a year since it has been approved by the CDC and the FDA. So I want to go on this topic just because I love to read news article, and there was a recent article in the Oregonian where it talks about a mother losing two of her sons due to being unvaccinated and getting COVID. And so I think we need to go back on what the vaccine's for. The vaccine's for to keep you out of the hospital and prevent you from dying. Not from preventing you getting the disease. Just because you can still get it, it's just would be similar to a cold or flu. And sometimes you can mistake one of the two if you get it. And I mean, I still get people's hesitation upon how fast it went, but I have to mention again that science nowadays moves really quickly. Based on my experience, because I have a medical condition that before, when I was doing a cardio angiogram, they would have to go through my groin and go up into my brain.
Yeesh.
Versus, and then 5 years later, now they go through the hand, which is a lot closer.
That's so interesting. I think I know what you mean. It's a big jump.
Yeah. So that was within a span of 5 years. And I know 5 years doesn't seem a lot to people, but to me, that's a very short time frame to develop something like that. Whereas before, it would take you 10, 20 years to develop that quickly and to get approval. And also, there's also the fact that money is also an underlying factor here.
Yes, I think that is definitely like a huge one that people don't realize is that the reason why so many other medical treatments, whether it's vaccines or not, take so long is funding and approval. And so just the fact that this was a pandemic that was happening around the entire world, everyone was focused on it, and so other things kind of getting pushed out of the way and prioritizing it is the biggest adjustment, the biggest change that facilitated the speed. It wasn't necessarily that they're cutting corners. They're not cutting corners. It's just that everybody's on the same page that yes, we need this, as opposed to something that's less urgent. Then they're gonna drag their feet or not have the money, or there's a lot more politics involved, and that's really what it comes into account when you're thinking about the speed of science getting things done.
Yeah, with money involved, especially because the money usually had a deadline. And so a lot of the scientists did what they didn't cut corners. They combined things, or because they can hire more people who are in that field to do the job that they need to get done, which is good because then they have two fields that are doing the two steps at the exact same time, whereas they do step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4, where they can combine it two at the exact same time and do it. And that's created where they had to go. They were able to move it quicker. They still have to jump through the hoops. And more than likely, the study of this virus was already studied beforehand. At least the very basic of it, the originality of it, or something similar to it. And so they already had the study there. It's just that now we have another version that's a lot worse and that they have to deal with.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, I would advise people to get the vaccine just like every year people get the flu shot or the pneumonia vaccine. I remember when I was a child, there wasn't a vaccine for pneumonia. And then 30 years later, I found out there is one. They're like, oh, we need to get you on the vaccine, the pneumonia vaccine, because you'll be in trouble if you don't.
Yeah. Well, and that's exactly it, is thinking back to our childhood. When we were kids, the common practice was chickenpox parties. That was how people dealt with it, um, which just sounds awful. And I thought it sounded terrible then too. But now there actually is a vaccine for chickenpox as well, which just, as a parent, when I found out about that, I just was so relieved for that one, because I had chickenpox as a kid and I was not looking forward to having to just get that illness over with. And we don't have to now because my kid's vaccinated. I don't have to deal with it. So it just shows the value of vaccines. Other ones that we've gotten too, they're great.
Yeah, the vaccines, and like I said, like a lot of people like downplay it because right now we're going through the various stages of COVID, where the deadlier ones are now past. Now they're more closer to a flu and a flu or a cold, because it is. I mean, it's still just as deadly if you're not vaccinated. But right now, combined with the vaccine and both of those, it help where it's not as bad. And it will probably, from what I gathered from my coworkers who have gotten COVID after being vaccinated, basically you would have to stay home for a week. That's about it. And then you feel fine afterwards. And I'm pretty sure a lot of them are thankful about the vaccine. I'm happy that I have the vaccine, just because my cousin also got COVID. Of course, she wasn't vaccinated. She ended up in the hospital.
Oh man.
And it took her 3 months to recover back. I don't know if she's fully, completely recovered. I'm not quite sure. But for the time when my cousin got COVID, and they let her go home, because like, okay, you're okay now, but you're gonna have to come with the oxygen tank. It's because your lungs have been damaged. And in order to recover, it'll take 3 months to recover from that damage.
Wow.
My mom's like, no, you are not going over there or going over to see your cousin, because you are asthmatic and have immune system that probably would not go well. Mom's like, there was another factor in there too, just because just recently a family member passed away. I'm not gonna mention who, just because we don't want to go into the Corn Fest. So yeah, I'm very thankful for the vaccines, although I'm kind of questioning, like, it's now been like 1 year and a half since the vaccine has been out. I mean, the reason we're getting to the point where we don't need to wear masks is because of the vaccine.
Yeah, it still feels weird in a way to see people's faces again. Feels really strange. But it is nice to know, having that extra layer of security. Maybe they aren't vaccinated, but I am, so I'm okay.
For me, like, even though I am vaccinated, I'm still wearing masks because I don't trust people.
Yes, same here. Exactly. Same reason too, because I just don't trust people.
Unless I know you personally, I don't trust you. So there's that. But it's interesting. Like, we're going back to semi-normal. The only reason I say semi-normal is because during the pandemic, a lot of stuff was backed up. And so now we have to go clear all the backlog. That's going to take time.
Yes, that's just regular life has to catch up.
Yeah. I mean, there is a continuation of the vaccine to make it a little bit longer. They're still studying that part. And I hope people do get the vaccine, get the booster shot. Sometime soon, I have to get my second booster. Funny thing is, I remember to do that booster shot, but I don't remember getting my flu shot. I always delay that.
Well, the convenience is that now we can do both. I'm pretty sure that's what we did this autumn. It just timed out right that the booster time was also flu season. So it was very handy to get them both over with at once, which not fun maybe, but convenient. I was gonna say too, I don't think the last time that we talked about anything COVID related that we discussed the experience of
Uh,
being vaccinated. So that would be something interesting, maybe.
I mean, I think we should talk about that because my experience is because I got Moderna. Both my first 2 shots were Moderna. The first one, I had stomach pain. I wasn't feeling well. I ended up throwing up. That wasn't that bad. The second shot, oh my god, I went through hell on that one. Just because like I had everything you can think of for 36 hours. Yes, I timed myself because I had the chills. I had a fever. Um, I lost my appetite because like I was like feeling so nauseated. I was fatigued. My stomach decided, nope, nope, nope. Gotta go to the bathroom. And then at night when I'm trying to sleep, my body will wake itself up basically almost every 2 hours just to go to the bathroom. And I would be like, oh, okay, only a couple more hours of this. Oh, and also sweating. That also wasn't fun either. So I'm like, oh, every time I was like, God damn it. I was like, this is hell. I was like, okay, keep going. So I got the worst of it. Funny thing is, the rest of my family didn't get as bad. I'm like, I hate you guys. You guys are evil. How did I end up with this part?
I can relate to that sentiment. I know I didn't have it nearly as bad as you did either, so my apologies. But I did have some symptoms compared to other people in my household. The first shot, I don't even remember the side effects. I'm sure there were some, but it's bad enough that I don't remember, so that's a good sign. The second one was rough. That it's so interesting when people say arm pain. It's
Oh yeah, that too.
it's so much different and more than you imagine. Like it just felt like my entire arm was going to fall right off. For anyone who experiences period cramps, the type that make it feel like your legs want to rip off, it was basically like that, but in an arm. It's a very specific type of pain that's hard to verbalize, but it was just like that. And I didn't have any of the nausea or stomach things. I just felt like completely drained. Like I got in bed and could not lift my head for about a day. I don't think it was a full 24 hours necessarily, but probably pretty close to just feeling like someone had bricks on top of my body and just could not get up. And the sweating was crazy. And that's really all I remember. Maybe there's a little bit of that, flu like delirium element. I'm not really sure, but I know that it sucked. And I definitely felt a lot of resentment towards my husband who got nothing. He's fine. He got both vaccines and that nothing. And so yeah, we were giving him the death glare for a couple of weeks after that. And then the booster. So I got the Pfizer for the first two, and then the booster was Moderna. And it was kind of similar to the second dose, but a lot less. So the arm still hurt, but not as bad. And the fatigue and just ickiness was there, but not as bad. So, and it's interesting because as much as you envy someone who doesn't get any symptoms, I kind of, in a way, like having a little bit just because then it's working, which is not necessary for every person. It's still working. I'm just the type of person who likes to have that little sign of like, clearly my body's doing something right now. Great. So it made it more tolerable knowing and thinking about it that way. But it's definitely been mentally helpful to have the booster along with everything else. And I think it's just a vaccine is taking the same illness and it's dead, putting it in your body so that your body will still fight it the same. Your body doesn't realize it's already dead. So it fights it, and you're getting those side effects are the basically the outward signs that this is going on inside your body. So when you get the illness for real, you would still have those exact same symptoms, but worse. So it just blows my mind, and I don't understand it, how someone would not want to protect themselves. I know that it's not something I'm going to be able to understand because it's just a totally different mindset. But when I'm having side effects to a vaccine, I'm thinking, oh gosh, if I had gotten this illness, I'd feel like this more. So it's nice to know if you're going to feel crappy, it's over with, as opposed to being like your cousin having, multiple months. If I had felt like second dose for 3 months, oh my gosh, I cannot imagine. My sympathies to everyone who's experienced that. And why would you want to do that to yourself, guys? Come on. Just
I'm also like, for me, with my symptoms, I think more than likely I would be on my deathbed, just because even though like my cousin has a stronger immune system than I do. My immune system has I have asthma, many different diseases, and more than likely I would be on my deathbed if I didn't have it. That's when it came to it, when it wasn't an option for me because I had to get the vaccine, because the options are either, if I on the chance that I do get it, the likelihood of me dying is a lot higher.
yes, I think that's something that, I don't think I even have words for it, but for people who are considered healthy with no underlying conditions, it doesn't seem like the concept really sinks in for them, the level of danger, when because people think, oh, well, healthy people, you're fine. And don't realize how many things fall into the underlying conditions category. And you have all these diseases, sure, but still able to live a full, healthy life by most people's standards. And so I think that's a really important thing for people to realize, that it's not just the elderly in a wheelchair with an oxygen tank who have that level of danger, that the average person walking down the street could be someone who would have that extreme danger.
And also, I hate to, well, actually, I don't hate to bring it up, because I don't think a lot of people understand that diseases don't care of how old you are. Diseases don't care about your race, gender, or anything else. It will find you and cause havoc on your body. Diseases are microorganisms that you cannot see. So therefore, it can't tell whether or not you're somebody else or something. It does not care. And then I would also like to touch, because we both got mixed booster shots. And I think it's because Moderna is a lot stronger than Pfizer is. So the reaction is gonna be a little bit different. Because when I got Moderna, it was like, oh, I just had a tired arm. That's it, a painful arm, and that's it. Compared to all my other, those like, and then that when you just said about your booster shot, that makes me think that more than likely it is due to the how much of the booster is in there. Because basically for Moderna, it's the same one, except for they went at it for half. Pfizer was still the same amount. There wasn't any adjustments.
Yeah, and for me, as someone who had started with Pfizer, and then the information comes out a little at a time, so finding out that Moderna was a little bit stronger in a way, it was kind of like, oh great, I lucked out getting the Moderna booster, because now I can a little bit extra, as a no dissing on any different types, they're all good, take what you can get, fantastic, but it was just kind of like the little cherry on top, oh, extra protection for me.
Yeah.
So
I mean, I'm happy, like, basically I'll be working from home if I get it, but then I also have a bunch of tests at home to test, make sure I don't get it. I still wear my mask, just because the mask is not only protecting me from this virus, it is now allergy seasons. The only thing that has been affecting is my eyes. My eyes have been burning red and watery. I'm like, oh, I hate allergy season. I hate winter seasons and spring seasons because my eyes are like, oh.
Yes, same. I cannot go back to going out without a mask on because of allergies, and the same exact experience as you, that I still wear my mask and the rest of allergies are a lot better and more manageable. But the eyes, man, they're what's kicking my butt now because it's all that's left.
Also, I'm not gonna stop buying my hand sanitizer because I go to Bed Bath Beyond, and I end up every time I go there, I end up with 5, 6 hand sanitizers out.
Yes.
Just because I love my hand sanitizers, because some hand sanitizers have tendency to have water retention in my hands, so my hands swell up,
Mm.
and then I have to hold my hands up to help make the swelling go down, so the blood flow goes down. As far as I think people get vaccinated because we still need you guys here in life, and if you're scared about the timing of the vaccine, how it's created, just remember the reason why I moved a lot quicker than others is because of funding. The funding had a deadline for them to meet, which they did the best to make it, and they did. And a lot of time it got pushed back a little bit, but it still got to the point where it was able to reach the goal that they were setting for themselves. And that's all due to funding. Every vaccines that is created is due to funding. When there's a large enough demand for it and people are willing for money to get it, then it will go faster.
Yes, and when we were talking earlier, it kind of clicked in my mind. Another point is that when all of these companies are working on a vaccine, in the case of what we've seen in the last few years, because it's an emergency, basically everyone at your job is now doing the same job. So your team is bigger. Whereas if it's not an emergency pandemic situation, all those workers are then divided into doing multiple tasks. So it's kind of like everyone used to be doing different things. You have less manpower on the job because the teams are smaller. But now it's, oh, well, everybody put down what you were working on. This is more important. So that your manpower is bigger. You're going to get the job done faster for that reason, which I think I was aware of before, but hadn't really thought of it as a talking point until now. So there's that.
Yeah. I mean, I would also like to thank all of our healthcare workers and also first liners. I know ever since things start to open up, there's been a lot of trouble with people. And I don't think they understand that a lot of things are backed up right now. And we are trying to catch up with everything. And as much as they want to move as quickly as possible, there is just not enough manpower to do so. And I still want to thank them because that is a lot of pressure on a system that is, I'm gonna say, weak as it is. And so I just want to thank them because it's a lot of hard work, and it's bad enough that they have to deal with some people who are not thankful to be alive and being able to go to doctors. And yes, there are going to be doctors who are buttholes, or nurses that are buttholes. Almost every job has somebody that's a butthole.
Yeah.
So it's a lot, and everybody's doing what they need to do to survive. So I want to thank them because without them, I don't think we would be here today without them.
Yes, I think it is important this far into everything to continue to share that appreciation, because very early on, everybody was championing first responders and frontline workers, and now it's just sort of fallen by the wayside. Everyone's like, well, we're back to normal, so you're back to normal too. Well, not for them. That job is still more challenging, and they're still getting mistreated. So it's just important to make sure that they still know that they're loved and valued and appreciated for all of their extremely hard work. I know that there's been a lot of fallout from the craziness. Every profession now is low staffed.
I'm gonna hold up on that because that's gonna go into our next one, just because of
Yeah.
staff shortage.
Yes.
Just because I think that would be a good discussion to go for, because I have opinions on that.
Yes. So basically, just hold off until next time because we do have a lot to say about the worker shortages. But it is just important to realize that because of worker shortages, all of those quote unquote back to normal things are not fully back to normal because they are understaffed.
So ending this with get vaccinated.
Yeah.
And treat your workers and frontliners with kindness, because we are in a world of needing positivity. And we will see you guys soon, and we will definitely be touching on this topic just because, well, it's enough to go into a rant to. So yeah.
So we will. Yep.
Yep.
Thanks for watching this episode of 88 Chat. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and leave a comment.
No. Bark. No.